when you're spending lots of time with your child, you know what level of transparency to have. If you don't know what level of transparency to have with a child, it's because you don't really know your child and you're not spending enough time. Does that make sense? It's like when people, they ask me, how do you know, younger folks would ask me, right, how do you know when it's the right time to get married, right? How do I know if she's the one? And I go, when you don't have to ask me that question, right? Because when you know, nobody can talk you out of it. And so with that level of transparency, it's oftentimes about just feeling in the moment what's right for this child with this conversation, like when to have the sex talk, or it's like when the time is right? When it feels right to bring it up to them, when they bring it up to you. So I was in South Dakota giving a speech a couple months ago, and Tiger and I went on a big hike, and it was probably like a 4 or 5 hour hike. And on the way down, Tiger, who's 10 now, he started asking me questions about sex. And this turned out to be like a 45-minute conversation. And because of the dialogue I've had with the other guys, because of the people that I've been interviewing, I felt prepared for this. I felt like I was ready for this moment. And what my philosophy was, speak totally candidly to him, talk to him, answer whatever question he has, right? And just be open about it. Because the birds and the bees talk as an example is not one conversation, it's a series of conversations. And it's conversations that happen all along the way at an appropriate moment for that kid, right? And now I think my parents missed some of those moments with me, but honestly that's because they weren't fully engaged or present with me, right? My dad was a military captain. He got up at 6 a.m., he was at the office by 7, he went to the gym after work, he came home, he sat down, he had dinner, he read the paper, he went to bed, rinse and repeat, right? That was and he'll tell you he was not there to have those conversations. But so I'm fully plugged into Tiger. We're having this conversation, and ultimately it is everything. I mean, I can tell you this to me was like one of my favorite moments as a dad, because he's asking me everything. He's like, so, like, what, how does, all the ones you might imagine, but then even ones that are even better than that, and like, not like how are babies made, but it's like, so, all right, so the guy his penis gets hard, and then then he just puts it inside the vagina, and I'm like, yeah, that's how it works. And he goes, do you and mom do this? Right? And this is it. And I'm like, yeah, we do. And he goes, does it feel good? I go, yeah, it feels really good. Right? Like, we're having a super open conversation about every part of it. So he's like, well, how does the baby get made? Right? Like, so what happens then? And I'm like, well, there's this semen comes out, and he goes, what's semen like? And like, I'm literally answering all the questions, right? So it was like, to me, the question about how transparent should we be is, to me, a level of the relationship you have with your child and you making an accurate assessment in that moment, what is appropriate for them. And I think that if we trust our heart, and I think that if we are honest with our kids, that we're going to be okay. And that if I'm going to fall on one side or the other, it's going to be a little more open than closed. So if I'm going to err, I'm going to err on the side of being more transparent about things in general. Like, and I'm not talking to Tiger right now about like ayahuasca or something like that. But the reality is that it's because it's not appropriate at this moment, I believe, in his life. So I'm not trying to just get him all out of the way while he's young. I'm trying to think about what's appropriate in the moment. Does that help? Great.
That's awesome.
Other questions?
Can I share a response to this too,
Yeah,
Johnny? Something that it was inspired probably by you telling me about that story. It was definitely inspired by guys that are in your community. So, Corey, I can relate to this. I have a 9-year-old who I could ask him any question, and I'm pretty 99% certain he will not answer it. What are you grateful for? No idea. How many of you have a kid you can relate to this, right? My daughter, I can ask her, what are you grateful for? And she won't stop. So it's very interesting. And my relationship with my parents and my dad was the same. We didn't talk about anything. And I actually had this happen about a week ago, inspired by hearing you talk about what you did with Tiger. And I have my son, Ace, he's 9 in the car. He's the one I can't get him to talk about anything. We had 20 minutes in the car, and I thought, I'm going to try something. And so I said, Ace, we're going to play a game, and let's make up a name. And I said, I'm going to call this the Safe Space Game. I said, for this drive, I want you to, if you want, be willing to ask me any question you want. And now, so this is a different perspective. I said, I will give you the full, open, honest answer to any question you want to ask me right now. And I was prepared to do that. And now, think of what I just told you. Do you think he was ready with a question? No. He's like, I can't think of anything. So I had to push. I had to say, well, look, if there's something you wish that you maybe you're afraid to ask. So I went all these different angles, and finally he goes, have you ever been drunk? I said, yeah, I've been drunk. And I told him about what it's like, and I'm proud of the fact that I'm not drunk that often these days, or I don't drink a lot. But I gave him an answer, and I talked all about it. And then I got to the next question. He said, have you ever been in trouble with the police? And here's what's crazy, guys, is he pulled a story out of me that I realized like nobody in my life knows. And I shared with him. I'll tell you guys, it's really not a big deal. The only reason nobody knows is because no one's asked me the question. And he asked me, I said, yeah, when I was 16, 2 months after I got my driver's license, I drank a beer at a party. I got pulled over in the state of California. There's a no tolerance law. Lost my license for a year. And he goes, oh, that sucks. And in that moment, my relationship with him transformed. And I said, here's the lessons learned. But we played this game where it was like, you can ask anything, I'll tell you anything. And those were the things he wanted to know. And it was amazing what happened. It was just, I realized I needed to model and create a space for vulnerability. And I also realized that just because I had the words and the invitation, it was still going to be a lot of work to get him to open up. So try that out, guys.